Hi, I'm Rob Casemeyer, and I'm very excited to introduce you to Green Status Pro and our approach to managing an enterprise's conflict minerals due diligence program and reporting. Before we begin, several housekeeping notes. First, a copy of the slide deck is available via our website. Today's session includes a presentation and live demonstration. Please submit questions during the session and afterwards if you choose. We will answer as soon as possible. Over the next 20 minutes, I will describe to you Green Status Pro's perspective of the SEC-mandated conflict minerals due diligence requirements. Make sure we are all on the same page in recognizing the challenges facing both filers and their non-filing suppliers, many headquartered overseas, to conform with the requirements. Then we will go to a demonstration. We will show you how Green Status Pro overcomes the challenges executives charged with implementing a conflict minerals compliance and reporting program are facing. It's May 31st, 2014. Are you going to wake up in a cold sweat realizing you have excellent data gathering tools and lots of data, but the auditor that you are scheduled to meet with next week or the week after insisted that the first item to review is the process you use to systematically reduce the risk associated with the data? He wants documentation of your due diligence process. He wants the evidence supporting the requirement that you correctly followed your due diligence process. He wants to know how you included your suppliers in your firm's efforts to systematically mitigate risk. Green Status Pro delivers a process solution for systematically managing the risks associated with conflict minerals due diligence. Our solution, combined with the data gathering tools you already have, meet the objectives of the worldwide conflict minerals due diligence and reporting effort and the requirements of any auditor. Green Status Pro delivers the conflict minerals program as a software service that both filers and non-filers need today to support the obligations placed on filers by Dodd-Frank Section 1502 and the SEC's final rule. The reports generated by GSP evidence the due diligence processes that organizations should put in place and follow. These reports show that your organization is prepared and capable of creating credible and valid RCOI reports that your customers can rely on. And very importantly, that the senior officer in the filing company who has been assigned the responsibility of signing off on Form SD for the submission to the SEC must have to substantiate the diligence of your conflict minerals program. As compliance professionals, everybody in this audience understands that documenting and preserving evidence of compliance is a key principle. But it is difficult for operating managers for many good and valid reasons. As I will show you, Green Status Pro simplifies the challenge of documenting due diligence. Green Status Pro's mission is simplifying the regulatory lives of operating managers. These overstressed folks are the backbone of the compliance management and reporting process. They need a solution to do this part of their job better. That's Green Status Pro. We're a startup launching our application service later this month, July 2013. Due diligence has different meanings based on the context and source, so I want to take a moment to make sure we're all on the same page. Merriam-Webster's definition is key. Reasonable person is a significant concept. Exercise means that it's proactive. Avoiding harm is the objective. GSP delivers a transparent process for meeting due diligence requirements. It starts with putting in place the components required for an appropriate conflict minerals program. That is the care that a reasonable person exercises. For a compliance program, this includes recording the steps taken, both to show conformance with the appropriate standard or regulation and to ensure that it will be repeated properly in the future. Now, due diligence has many contexts within the field of conflict minerals reporting. The first context is marketing, where we've all heard the phrase due diligence constantly used to describe any product or service for conflict minerals. Well, I can imagine you all chuckling at that. Let me express my own view. The term due diligence is used far too much. There are three primary ways that due diligence is incorporated in the process. The first is OECD due diligence, which requires filers to implement processes to ensure they are not contributing to the funding of DRC violence. The second is RCOI due diligence, which is the process of verifying that your supplier's EICC-Gesi conflict minerals reporting declarations were properly and accurately constructed. The third is source and chain of custody due diligence, which ensures that the ownership track back to the mine is not broken. Compliance requires detailed procedures, structured processes, and proper documentation. The objective is to provide the transparency over time required to meet audit standards. What we have to work with is an OECD framework that lacks specifics, RCOI that provides data without due diligence documentation, and source and chain of custody information where there can easily be an open link. Each requires detailed instructions. GSP addresses these challenges with a transparent, systematic approach to mitigate compliance risk. Listen, you must understand that we are providing specifics that are not available anywhere else. We follow the OECD due diligence framework, and we ask the implementation tasks that organizations must follow. And these tasks consist of step-by-step instructions. Our secret compliance sauce is that these instructions are on a single-page digital worksheet. This worksheet incorporates any and all user inputs. Users can type and copy directly their firm's compliance actions and add any digital file, from Word docs to spreadsheets to videos, including the EICC-Gesi Conflict Minerals Reporting Declaration Report. Users can generate auditable interim and final reports for any and all of the OECD due diligence steps. These reports include the instructions for achieving due diligence and the firm's actions to comply. Management can use interim reports to monitor progress. Customers and auditors will use the final reports to verify that the company has done what it said it would do. From the supervising manager's perspective, the dashboard is key to ensure that their conflict minerals program progresses correctly and in a timely manner. The management dashboard updates executives in real time. What we provide that no one else provides is a marketplace in our architecture. This marketplace allows experts in the field and customers to publish best practice due diligence templates. These templates consist of due diligence instructional worksheets. On the next slide, I'll talk more about these templates from an organizational perspective, but what I want to first focus on is how a customer uses the templates. The administrator can download specific templates from the GSP marketplace to add to the company library, or users can build their own templates and add them to their company library. Customers can modify open templates to meet their specific needs, such as organizational structure and operational procedures, at any point in time. We all recognize that the conflict minerals reporting requirements will continue to evolve. As the conflict minerals reporting requirements mature, customers can update these worksheets as appropriate. Finally, the administrator can schedule the due diligence work effort. The administrator assigns responsibilities, schedules start and due dates, and deploys the conflict minerals due diligence processes. Templates are the documents that contain the business rules for achieving a stated due diligence objective and are editable until either deployed as a review or locked prior to deployment. Public and private templates are available in GSP's marketplace. Public templates are available to all GSP customers. Private templates, on the other hand, are created by companies for their sole use. Once created, private templates can be locked or modified by designated company personnel and deployed appropriately throughout the company. GSP customers may acquire templates from the public marketplace or with a private access code from the private marketplace. OEMs that want all their suppliers to use the same due diligence template simply place a locked image on the private marketplace and then provide their supplier with an access code to copy it to their libraries. A trade association may want to offer its members and their suppliers its industry standard template. The trade association's template could be either in the public or private sector of the marketplace, depending on the trade association strategy. GSP is responsible for storing all the templates throughout the process. Creating a roll-up report starts with the OEM creating and locking a template. Next, the locked template is copied to the user's libraries. The divisions and suppliers then assign local owners and start-stop dates to the instruction lock template and then deploy it. Reports can be prepared by the GSP administrator at any time. The administrator merely selects the organizations to include in the report, the time the report is to be prepared, and the report format. It can be sequential by either organization or task. The reports are in HTML and include instructions, start, posting, and completion dates, reviewer of record, as well as comments and associated files. Internal, independent, and customer auditors can now be provided with comprehensive diligence roll-up reports with a few clicks of the mouse. Green Status Pro is for downstream manufacturers. For filers, the senior executive officer who must sign Form SD for the corporation will demand that GSP due diligence documentation is correct and always available. Divisional compliance managers who are assigned the task of implementing a conflict minerals compliance program for the first time will jump at the chance to acquire the fast-track knowledge incorporated in this application. In addition, corporate conflict minerals executives who want their own GSP instructions and tasks for their firm's suppliers finally have a solution. Next, the non-filers, who typically utilize operating managers to handle conflict minerals plus their day job, will want our system. This group needs an operational roadmap for creating a conflict minerals due diligence process. They may be U.S. or offshore based. Non-filers only want to generate one report rather than multiple reports for multiple customers. Consultants providing customer training and integration support are also important users. Plus, they can author additional templates for the marketplace. Now, let's begin our live demonstration. John Logan will walk us through this by reviewing how AU Electronics, a supplier to major OEMs, uses GSP.
Thank you, Rob. I'd like to begin with the most important benefit of Green Status Pro for an organization, our comprehensive auditable reports. These reports document and preserve all the hard work everyone has put into the due diligence program. This report provides a listing of all the due diligence tasks that the organization committed to putting in place, as well as the reviewer's evidence of conformance. Suppliers can provide this report to their customers and auditors to effectively prove conformance with the conflict minerals due diligence and reporting requirement. During the conflict minerals due diligence implementation, this report will be run periodically by executives to allow them to review the organization's progress. Now let's go over and see how we get to make this report. Let's go over to the Green Status Pro reviews. Here we note that Green Status Pro is a multi-user role-based system, but for convenience today we're coming in as Leo Hancock, the administrator, to show you how the system works. Leo has up 5 steps of the conflict minerals due diligence requirements per the OECD guidance going forward, and 2 reviews that he's put up to prepare the organization and develop himself. Notice that each tile states on it the number of tasks, how many are completed, how many aren't started, how many are processed. In other words, we have a mini due diligence, or dashboard, review on each tile. Now, if we click on the Identify and Assess Risks in the Supply Chain to see what comes up, we're going to find that we now have the tasks that we are going to do to meet the requirements of this review. But notice the first task is in red. What happened? What we have seen is that Leo went through and he was to identify the suppliers for due diligence based on the criteria established, and he couldn't do it. It was not possible with the current company systems. By putting it in red and showing it in nonconformance, he's able to alert management to the issue so they can work on this nonconformance issue and be able to go into the system and be able to change it around. When they have made sure they're in conformance, they will note this as being green and completed, and will understand that the system has been properly done going forward. Now let's click on one of the steps in the task, and here we find that when we get to task 5, we're conducting the due diligence on the source and chain of custody of the conflict minerals using a recognized due diligence framework, the OECD. Now don't get put off by the density of the text. Quite frankly, it's a very simple cookbook approach, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and when you start reading the steps slowly and surely, you will find that this is the way you would be doing the process in any case. Now note, here we keep the input that Leo has added and the date he's posted them and the files together with the instructions. This is our secret compliance sauce going forward. We're keeping the instructions with the inputs, with who reviewed them, and when they did it, and it's all done automatically. I mean, Leo today needs to add more information, so he clicks on the Add a Comment box, and up comes his text editor, and in here he can begin to type in his data, or he can record his data if he has voice input, or he can cut and paste from another document. In other words, he has every ability to add comments in any way he wants, and he can choose a file to put in here. When he clicks a file, it can be a Word document and a spreadsheet, or it can be a video or a WAV format. In other words, any file he wants to add is able to be put into to prove his conformance. And finally, when he's done, he can mark it as completed. And when he marks it complete, it asks him if it's conforming or non-conforming. Again, the last step in the compliance steps is to decide if it's conformance or not conformance going into the system. Now, of course, you notice we have email alerts. And so when the start date occurs on any of these, Leo will be informed by an email. When it's 2 days before it's due, he'll have the due date email come to him. And when it's overdue, he'll be getting an email. In other words, we're helping him manage the process in every way, shape, and form possible, as well as the content. In talking about managing the process, obviously the managers want to know what's going on at any point in time, and so they start with knowing which reviews have been completed, but most importantly for them, what tasks are in non-conformance, which ones are past due. They have instantaneous knowledge what is occurring in the system, as well as over here to know how the program's being completed, as we can see the review status of which reviews are completed in process, past due, looking at conforming reviews, and looking at non-conforming reviews versus conforming ones as completed and in process. In other words, with the dashboard system, our executives immediately have access to the status of their program. Now, as Rob talked earlier, we start this system with the library. In our library here in Owl Electronics, we have 27 templates. In-house developed templates, Green Status Pro provided templates, independent expert templates on ISO 9001, because remember, we also manage quality management systems using the same process going forward, all within the same capability. Now, how would we start the process? Well, let's start with looking at the established strong company management systems from the OECD guidance. When we click on this, we bring up the steps required. Now, again, look how simple it is. Task 1, identify the lead for conflict minerals reporting. Step 2, form your conflict minerals reporting oversight committee. And then we have instructions in it, such as make sure we have representatives from manufacturing, engineering, procurement, IT, finance, and legal. In other words, best practices, and so on down through the steps. We are actually simplifying this process and giving firms expertise, knowledge on how to begin the process. But of course, everybody's going to say, but my organization's different. And so therefore we go to edit. And now we can edit the tasks before we put them in, before we deploy them. Again, simply click on the edit capabilities, be able to change them. Very importantly, we would recommend that before you deploy the tasks, you review them with the executive officer who has responsibilities for signing Form SD for the corporation. This is an important step in the due diligence process. Now that we've got our templates properly with the proper instructions, we can put on recurrence settings so that we can have them occur every year at the same time, monthly, quarterly, semi-annually, whatever. We can have the information for when they're starting synced to the calendars of the users. And quite frankly, and very importantly, before we deploy and review them, we can go through and set the owners, for example, of a task. Here we can set up Larry or Laura. And why is that important? We can delegate these tasks. We can change the start dates and stop dates before going forward, and we can do this for each one of the tasks. Very important to be able to do this, have it ready to go. We click Deploy Review, and the task becomes active and gets back into the system, and away we go. Thank you very much. Rob, will you do the conclusion?
Thanks, John. I hope we've provided you with an overview of the Green Status Pro system and how it meets the requirements for tracking and documenting conflict minerals due diligence. I also hope you now understand how very different Green Status Pro is from data mapping and gathering tools. We're complementary to these tools and can incorporate their outputs simply and easily. The final message I want to leave you with today is putting in place and documenting conflict minerals due diligence procedures is an SEC requirement. Green Status Pro's software service is the solution that compliance managers need now. Thank you very much. A copy of the slide deck is available from our website. For more information, contact us. Contact Ted Shediak by phone or email as indicated. We look forward to talking with you. Thank you.